Álvaro de Luna y Jarana, Duke of Trujillo, first Count of San Esteban de Gormaz, was a Spanish politician. He was a favorite of King John II of Castile, a Constable of Castile and Grand Master of the Military Order of Santiago. Early years. He was born between 1388 and 1390 at Canet in what is now the province of Cuenca, as the natural son of the Castilian noble Don Álvaro Martínez de Luna, co-heir of King Henry III of Castile, and María Fernández de Jarana, a common woman of great character and beauty. He was introduced to the court as a page by his uncle Pedro de Luna, Archbishop of Toledo. In 1410, Pedro de Luna later became anti-pope as Benedict XIII, secluded at Peñíscola. Álvaro soon secured a commanding influence over John II, then merely a boy. During the regency of King John's uncle Ferdinand, which ended in 1412, he was not allowed to be more than a servant. When, however, Ferdinand was elected King of Aragon, and the regency was assumed by the king's mother, Catherine of Lancaster, daughter of John of Gaunt, and granddaughter of King Peter of Castile, Álvaro became a very important person, the so-called Contino, or old friend of the king. The king's favorite. The young king regarded him with love and affection, which the superstition of later time attributed to witchcraft, as the king was under pressure by greedy and unscrupulous nobles, among whom his cousins, the sons of Ferdinand, commonly known as the Infants of Aragon, were perhaps the most dangerous. His reliance on a favorite who had every motive to be loyal to him is quite understandable. Luna was also a master of all the accomplishments the king admired. A fine horseman, skillful with a lance and a writer of court verse. But beyond the purview of his peers, he was a master of intrigue and misrepresentation. Until he lost the king's protection, Álvaro was the central figure of the Castilian history of the time. It was a period of constant conflict, characterized by shifting coalitions of the nobles, namely the Infants of Aragon Henry and John of Aragon, brothers of John II's wife Maria, who, under pretense of freeing the king from the undue influence of his favorite, were intent on making a puppet of him for their own ends. The part which Álvaro de Luna played has been diversely judged. The Encyclopaedia Britannica 11th edition recounts that to Wanda Mariana he appears as a mere self-seeking favorite. To others he has seemed to be a loyal servant of the king, who endeavored to enforce the authority of the crown, which in Castile was the only alternative to anarchy. He fought for his own ends, but his supremacy was perhaps better than the rule of lawless alliances of plundering nobles. His story is, in the main, one of expulsions from the court by victorious factions, and of his return, when his opponents fell out among themselves. Thus, in 1427, he was solemnly expelled by a coalition of the nobles, only to be recalled in the following year. In 1431, he endeavored to employ the restless nobles in a war for the conquest of Granada, then still in Muslim hands. Some successes were gained at the Battle of La Figueruela, but in the end he failed. A consistent policy was impossible with a rebellious aristocracy and a king of indolent character. In 1445, the faction of the nobles allied with Álvaro's main enemies, the Infants of Aragon, were defeated at the First Battle of Olmedo. One of them, Infante Henry, Duke of Villena, brother of the Queen, died of his wounds. Luna, who had been Constable of Castile and Count of San Esteban de Gormaz since 1423, became headmaster of the Order of Santiago by election of the Knights. Downfall. Queen Maria died under suspicious circumstances, pointing to Luna as the mastermind. Nevertheless, his power appeared to be thoroughly established. It was, however, based only on the personal affection of the king. The king's second wife, Isabella of Portugal, although her whole royal marriage was a product of Luna's arrangements, was soon offended by the immense influence of the Constable, and when the murder of the king's accountant Alfonso Pérez de Vivero was suspected to have been done on Luna's orders, she urged her husband to free himself from thraldom to his favorite. In 1453 the king succumbed to his wife's demands. Luna was arrested, tried and condemned to death in a process which was a mere parody of justice, and soon executed by beheading at Valladolid on the 2nd of June 1453. Marriage and issue. By his marriage with Juana Pimentel, Álvaro de Luna had 2 children. His legitimate heirs, Juan de Luna, 2nd Count of San Esteban de Gormaz, married Leonor de Zuniga, while Lara, daughter of the Duke of Bayard, Maria de Luna, 3rd Countess of Sant Esteban, the heiress after her brother's premature death. She married Inigo López de Mendoza, while Luna, 2nd Duke of the Infantado. By mistress Margarita de Villena, Álvaro de Luna had an illegitimate son, Pedro de Luna, Lord of Fuentidueña.